Florida State starts 0-3 to start the 2024 college football season.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into a live edition of Locked On Seminoles postgame after Memphis defeats Florida State 20-12 in a really weird game, one that had some serious rhythm to it. Not both teams were just really up and down, but Memphis wins 20-12. My name is Brian Smith, and as the host of Locked On Seminoles, I don't really know how to define this other than to say it's time to blow it up. It is time to go cataclysmic with this offense. I'm going to go over a gazillion stats, share my screen, and all that in just a moment. Then after that, I will get into the chat and happily comment right along with each of you. Show everybody what's going on, discuss the comments that you have, the questions, etc. But first, let me say this. There need to be heads that are rolling at the end of this season at the latest. Florida State had 238 yards of offense. Florida State was 2 of 12 on third downs against a G5 team. Florida State couldn't run the ball for the life of them. Florida State hasn't run the ball all year. Florida State in the first half, at minimum, just early in the second quarter, if I remember right, had 3 drops already. That was one of the keys to the game. They had at least 5 last week. The receivers, running backs, tight end, everybody is struggling to catch the ball. What is it? Is there anything that Florida State can do consistently well on offense? Oh, by the way, I know one other thing they don't do well. Any form of blocking. The absolute ridiculous effort. Ridiculous. That Ja'Kai gave on a early screen where he just kind of looks at the guy, kind of touches him, he goes around. What are you doing? That's a Little League play. There were other ones like that too. The receivers don't block well for each other. They'll have a great running play up front. Then they'll have a next play, something similar. Guys come free. They have 220 starts. 220 among the players on the offensive line that compete and play. And they are terrible. There are guys that are 5th and 6th year seniors that have quote unquote aspirations of playing in the, not for long as I call it, but otherwise known as the National Football League. Yeah, that's not happening. There isn't one guy up front that's making a roster at this point. The amount of regression in Florida State's offensive line is a pandemic of patheticness. Horrific. Clutch, they're the opposite. Absolutely the opposite. They allow things to happen up front that are just mind-blowing. And to be honest, considering all the other ineptitudes, even in the last drive, it's sad, but the following is true. Multiple times, the defensive coordinator for Memphis went cover 0, meaning there's no free safety. We might give you a 70, 80-yard touchdown right here, and you can have a chance at a 2-point conversion at the top. You know why? A, your offensive line's going to miss something. They're not going to communicate well. And B, the receivers I was talking about, heck, they're open. They probably drop it anyway. Florida State has so many problems on offense, and every week it's just a repeat. I might name my next podcast Florida State Football, a.k.a. Groundhog Day, because it's the same garbage over and over and over. All right. With that said, I'm going to share my screen here in just one moment. I'm going to give you a few of the stats. I'm not sure you really want to see them, but I'm going to give you a few of the stats that are in the game. Just going to go over some basics first. Then we'll talk a few more specifics. But wow, this is unbelievable. Oh man, this is bad. All right. Some of the big main stats, if you will, we're just starting with, but there are plenty to kind of go with here. I'll read these off too. Florida State, it's amazing what's going on right now. All right, total yards for this football game To be honest, I didn't talk about the defense yet. They really hung in there. Give Florida State's defense credit. Second quarter in particular, Seth Hennigan for Memphis was on fire. Accurate pass after accurate pass, making smart reads, taking what he could, etc. The defense kept Florida State in the game, even though he was playing well. Florida State had 3 first-half turnovers. I mean, they were awful. But 337 total yards for the Tigers, 238 for the Noles. 238's got to be the worst that you're going to see for a team with a fifth-year senior on any team this year. I mean, that's unbelievable. Fifth-year senior quarterback, that's garbage. Passing yards, 272 for Memphis, 201 for the Noles. Rushing yards, 65 for Memphis. Are you ready for this? Florida State with 37 rushing yards. Woohoo! Penalties, 5 for 35 for Memphis. Florida State, 6 for 43. First downs, 19 for the Tigers, 11 for your Noles. Third down, 7 to 17, not bad for Memphis. 2 of 12 for Florida State, that's self-explanatory. Fourth downs, 2 of 3 for Memphis, 3 for 3 for Florida State. That's pretty wild. Even though you scored 12 points, you're 3 for 3. How odd a stat is that? Total play, 71 for Memphis, 55 for your Noles. 4.7 yards per play for Memphis. Again, Florida State's defense played pretty good. You're holding team under 5. You did your job. Offensively for the Noles, though, 4.3 yards play. It's just garbage. Yards per completion. This is what's kind of funky. 10.9 for Memphis, 12.6 for Florida State. Now, the bomb to Benson is part of that. Average yards per rush. This is comical because both teams stunk up front today. 2 yards per carry for Memphis, only 1.5 for the Noles. That's just brutal. Sack adjusted rushing yards per carry. This is the more accurate stat, and this is the way the NFL would do it. 2.9 for Memphis, 3.5 for Florida State. Red zone situations. Both teams were consistent. Red zone, 4 for 4 for Memphis, 2 out of 2 for Florida State. Time of possession. This is not a good sign, and it's partially because they couldn't run the ball, but they couldn't get off the field on couldn't stay on the field on third downs. Memphis 7 to 17 helped them because they were 36 minutes and 21 seconds. Florida State time possession only 23-39. Florida State loses the turnover battle 3-1, and sacks. Florida State got after it. Did pretty good in the first half in particular. Memphis was a little better in the second half, but their defense tuned it up, especially when they knew DJ couldn't move well there at the end. Multiple sacks. They get 4 for the game. They had 12 tackles for loss against Florida State. Oh, my goodness. Florida State had 9. I mean, the defense played well enough today to win. Unfortunately for Florida State, the offense didn't play well enough to be considered a college football team. Florida State's offense is garbage, and that's part of it. But you still have to at least be competitive, right? Like in some way, shape, or form offensively. But Florida State wasn't, minus just a couple really, really big plays. And to be honest, I'm not sure what else to say, but it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. Look at a few more key stats here. Third down efficiencies are really important statistic, and you can just kind of look at the scenarios that Florida State is in. Not a really good one here. I think this is kind of indicative of what's going on with Florida State football. They struggle to run the ball. They get behind the chains. DJ, he's inconsistent some, but they're dropping the ball. They have penalties. They have sacks. They have missed blitz pickups, etc. And then you get the following. All right, this is where it gets really ugly again. These are third down numbers for the Noles and the Tigers. Here we go. Third down attempts. Memphis had 17 of them, converted 7, 2 out of 12 for the Noles. Again, that's just a ridiculous difference. But here's the conversion percentage, puts it in perspective. 41.2% to 16.7 for Florida State. Third down yards to go, both were bad, but Memphis at 7.8. Florida State at 9.5? That's the average distance to go on third downs. I mean, what is that? So anyway, Florida State's third down passing. You ready for the absolute atrocity of the day? 2 of 7 for 27 yards. Seth Hennigan, on the other hand, for the Tigers, 9 out of 12 for 87, 4 first downs. That's pretty good. It's just amazing how bad they were. They got sacked twice. It's brutal. All right, let's get to the chat. These stats they're so bad that I don't even know what I can do to put this in perspective. By the way, thanks to all of you that came into the chat, got in here early. It's really hard. I'll post a few of these. And by the way, Richard, you got in here real early, brother. You were in here at 2:00. You weren't messing around. Richard says our linebackers suck. There is no reason for this score. Kyle Morlock should never be thrown another pass. That's hilarious. It's pretty bad, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty bad. It is what it is, though, man. Like some of these are funny. Give credit here on this one too. Bashan says defense played a lot better. Offense lost us the game. Yep, that's true. By the way, shout out. We don't give much credit here or any other show, honestly. Gives much to the special teams. Fitz knocked another long field goal. I think it was 54 today. Mastromano, that punt right around the 2-minute mark, that was a bomb. Special teams did a pretty good job, minus the goofy play with the punt. Like the guy, look, you can't run into your own punt returner. That's self-explanatory. That you're taught that a million times. That's just on the player. That's not on the Florida State coaches. It's not. So that's a problem. Vashawn, offense is really pathetic. We ask Mike, doesn't open the playbook, and when he does, they don't execute. I think that's about as good a post as we're going to see today, to be really honest. Congrats on that one, Vashawn. I do not disagree. Let's see here. Richard, now that this debacle is over, we need to start playing the kids for next year, and if the seniors don't like it, tell them to start playing up to their potential. Well, I would imagine at this point, Richard brought up something I was going to talk about later. This is Richard Brookings. At some point, this is not going to be a good season, obviously. As a coaching staff, you got to have a private meeting that you never even want to think about having at any point in your entire career. We're going to have to play some of the younger guys. We can't just continue to lose, but the way we're playing, we're not going to beat many teams. I'll talk about that in a little bit too. And also, this is where it gets really crazy. You're looking at a scenario where if you do play some of the younger guys, because this team's got a lot of junior seniors, fifth-year seniors, you might have some revolt, and you just still got to live with it. Like, even thinking about that is mind-blowing. But seniors at this point might kind of walk, mentally, or if I'm not starting, you putting in a new guy, you might lose the locker room. But I don't think there's anything you can do about it. Before I go any further on that, though, Norvell and his staff recruited this roster. It's on them. They missed on a ton of portal guys. It's on them. Now, they played a little better today in some spots, especially the defensive guys. But overall, the defense played way better than I expected. I was shocked that Memphis won with 20 points. I didn't think that'd be the case at all. So I missed way off on that. I had picked 31-27 Memphis, and they scored 20. So Florida State needs to look at this from a perspective. At least we did better there. For the most part, special teams were better. Offense is still just a disaster. All right. Jay Platt, let DJ collect his NIL and benching. Hey, man. If there isn't a new quarterback for the rest of the season, I kind of get it. Maybe you play. There's different ways to do it. But under no circumstance, when we have a press conference early next week, he's not going to say much after this game, but early next week, point blank, if Mike Norvell does not say there is an open quarterback competition or something of that ilk, where it is definitive on film that there is a chance for one of the other quarterbacks to play, we have major head coaching problems. DJ ain't it, bro. Not for Norvell. And again, he recruited the guy out of the portal. F-. Everybody called it out. Is this a fit? Do we really think that's going to work? Are we sure about this? And then you got other problems around him too that compounds the issue. Kind of hard to feel good for Mike Norvell and his long-term tenure at Florida State. It's amazing to say that because they went undefeated in the regular season last year and won the ACC title game. This is one of the most dreadful fall-offs in the history of college football. One of the worst in all of college football history. When is Florida State going to win a game? Name a time you would expect Florida State to win a game. I'm not going to name on this particular pod the upcoming games because it's depressing. I'm not sure when Florida State's going to win a game. Now, at least the defense is playing better, gives you a chance. But the offense, I mean, you're averaging 2 yards a carry, whatever. If you take away the bomb to Benson, you're averaging 2 yards per play on first down. Now, the bomb to Benson changed it quite a bit, and it counts. But there were just hardly any good plays on first down. They were just getting annihilated. They were so poorly outcoached. Like, it was such a discrepancy. The MVP of this game was the Memphis defensive coaching staff collectively. Because especially early on, because Florida State wanted to get the crowd into it, they stymied the Florida State Seminoles offense. There's no doubt about it. Running game, short passing game, they had a few decent calls, but either drop, poor read, whatever. They just didn't give up the easy plays, and Florida State had to execute. Imagine that, and they couldn't do it. Richard Brookins. Sadly, I had hoped this was DJ's year under Tony and Mike, but sadly, it is not to be. I think that's about the understatement of the millennium right there. Not to be, it is like, this is a flaming disaster. I can't even put it into perspective. Oh my God, there he is. There he is. Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse had to stop in because I always make fun of Syracuse because it's still Syracuse football. They're never going anywhere. But can Florida State beat Charleston Southern? At this point, it's at least iffy. Is there anybody they can beat? But anyway, let's see. Richard, I am not sure Florida State can beat themselves anymore. Oh boy. That's bad. That's bad. I might mispronounce your name, but Rigor Mortiz, remember when DJ was better than Cam Ward? I never said that. I don't know who did, but if anybody thought that, they were sad. Let's see. This is sad. Harmon, JC Vol fan here just to watch the chaos. Bro, you found the right place. Antonio Riley should have paid Cam Ward his money. Maybe that's the post of the day. When you miss a quarterback, and you go back and watch the pod I did this morning, Saturday morning show, talking about recruiting. You missed in 20 and 21 on quarterbacks, and your 22 and 23 guys are developing like they should be. So you got back-to-back classes that are busts at quarterback, and then you miss on a portal guy. So you're essentially 0 for your last 3, 2 pending. That's 100% on the staff. Show enough, DJ says, we might not win a game this year. Richard agrees. Sadly, you might be right. Oh, let's see here. Oh, Antonio, just making fun. These boys playing for the number 1 pick in the draft. They're number 1 pick in what? Badminton? Yeah, I don't think they play anything right now. Musa Conte definitely should have given Cam Ward his bread. Does anybody disagree with that? I mean, at this point, like, think about it this way, and I'll look into this. Off the top of your head, please comment on this in the chat. Name a quarterback at a big-time school. Like Jackson Holzer, if you're in the podcast, that's fine, but you guys go 39-0, you're still not a big-time program. But name a big-time program that took a portal guy this year. Underclassman, senior, graduate student like DJ, whatever you want. Name somebody that has played worse and the offense has looked worse overall than Florida State. I'm talking about major programs. The Ohio State's, like Riley Leonard's pretty bad at Notre Dame. He might be worse. He's banged up too. So he's got competition at least. But outside of him, maybe not. Like, those are the 2 biggest busts from the portal. Leonard at least had higher expectations. But, I mean, A&M's quarterback's not very good. There are a few other guys, et cetera, that just in general. But the portal guys, it's just Leonard and, like, DJ battling it for dead last. out of the major programs. I might be missing somebody. Peyton Thorne's pretty bad, but he was last year. And they just brought him back, and he hasn't figured it out. So Auburn's got major problems there too. But, I mean, quarterback, Florida State has just messed up so badly. It's insane. Let's see. William McMillan. This guy is either insane or the happiest person alive. He says, staying positive, 9-3. Yeah, 9-3, brother. Yeah, I'm not going to comment any further on that. I'd probably get fired. Let's see. Warren Hester, just going to get worse. Recruits are going to start backing. It's not going to start backing. They already lost 2, and from the list they had of commitments, let's say to start the season to end, they might lose 5 or 6 now. This is a fire dumpster scenario. Or dumpster fire, excuse me. This is terrible. Like, name an offensive recruit that wants to be in this. And it's sad on the following, at least the defense played better today, no doubt. The 2 recruits they lost already were 2 D linemen that they really need. It's like pouring salt into the wound. Really, I mean, it's like pouring salt into the wound. Richard, we are already losing recruits. That is correct. Let's see here. Blake, how does nobody get open on a 0 blitz? Blake, that is a great question. Let me add to it. How does that happen repeatedly? Oh, man. I don't know who this guy is, but obviously he's trolling. Flux flow. Portal seems to be paying off. Not so much right now. Xavier, I believe DJ, we got to be patient. Xavier Powell. Xavier, a friend of mine has swampland in South Alabama. He needs to talk to you, brother. All right. Going to get worse. What recruit would want to come to this dumpster fire? That's Warren Hester. I just said the same thing, and I agree. Richard, not sure if it's Portal's fault. I think some of these kids only care about the money. Now, that is true. There's obviously a disconnect. They pick some of the wrong kids. But again, that goes back to the original point on the podcast I did earlier today. When you miss on back-to-back classes at quarterback, and O-line, D-line recruiting from that group overall was really bad, where are they having problems at? O-line, quarterback. D-line did much better today. Farmer in particular, stock up because he played poorly. He played much better today. But overall, you killed yourself with poor recruiting. It is the lifeblood of every college football program, and they failed. Oh, boy. Comments from Norvell, I got to do better getting this team ready, blah, blah, blah. Coach speak. Let me go ahead and say this. It's pretty much to the point now. I know they're not going to say it publicly, and it'll be a long leash because of all the financial things with this. I don't know his buyout. If somebody wants to throw up the buyout for Norvell, fire away, but he's pretty much on the hot seat. They're not going to say anything publicly, but there's no way as an AD that you are doing your due diligence if you're not actively discussing things with agents, even if you're not going to fire him at the end of this year. You got to be ready and working stuff for assistant coaches and everything else in the next year or so, because if they don't have a major turnaround this year, by the way, they're not, and they start poorly next year, he won't survive next season, let alone get to December of 25. He'll get fired. They are garbage on offense. That's how bad they're. Like, this is horrific. So that's just reality. They've recruited so poorly in those classes, and some of those kids are still around, but you're going to need a couple more years. Is he going to make it that far? I don't know. They got too many freshmen and sophomores they're relying on. We need to tie performance to NIL. That's nice, but here's the problem with that. Richard, I understand that. I don't disagree with the notion. A lot of the major guys, this is just how it works, and this is every team does it differently. The teams that get a lot of those kids that won NIL, it's not about performance. It's about either you give me upfront money before I play it down, or I'm not coming. And I'm talking about the elite players that you just flat need. Florida State's NIL is nowhere near some of the other programs. It's not in the stratosphere. I know one recruit in particular, face-to-face conversation. I know his dad, etc. He picked another school, and they over doubled what Florida State's offer was. Over doubled. Florida State's offer was pretty decent, but some of these schools are just murdering Florida State in NIL. Oh, that's a problem. Let's see. Auburn had enough sense to at least try another quarterback. Why wouldn't we? That's a good question. That is from that dude MP. Look, I can't imagine there's not going to just be like any Florida State site you go to this week, and I'll go to all of them too. Rivals, 24/7, Tallahassee Democrat, anything you want to go to. Newspapers in surrounding cities, Thomasville, Georgia, whatever. Pick anything you want. Yahoo, New York Times, everybody's going to make fun of Florida State. Why wouldn't you at least give some of the other guys some of the reps? I hate that, and I've talked about it before. You need somebody getting literally 100% of the number one reps. Right now, you don't have a number one quarterback. There is no good scenario. It's not an option. You are starting over at quarterback, or you just continue on the same path where you're beating your head on a wall. What's the old saying? If you do something repeatedly and it's not successful, that is the definition of insanity. Are we to that point with DJ? I would have to say yes, but to each their own. From Jay Plot. Take it from a Penn State fan who watched his team start 0-5 in the COVID season. It doesn't get any easier as the season goes on. The excuses start to really piss you off. Well, I think that's a pretty fair statement, bro. Thank you for that. I don't disagree. Let's see. Well, here's a pretty aggressive one. Brian Peterson. Norvell should be fired by the end of the week. We're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to go to break real quick. I think we should get into the Norvell discussion. Should Norvell be fired? Let's talk about that here in just a second on Locked On Seminoles, because do you see a win coming anytime soon? I don't know about end of the week, but do you see a win coming anytime soon? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Seminoles. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to take your car and make it that MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit only available to United States customers. All right. I am a little bit flustered by just how bad the offense looked again up front. The receivers, Benson had a good second half, obviously, but just the drops. Morlock might be the most disappointing player on the offense, not named DJ, but he's got a lot of guys around him, and you could make a lot of question marks about this. Byers not playing, is not helping at right tackle. There's so many things. But like the running backs are just getting either a big hole or a guy right in their face on every play. Like the mental bus on who to block. It's almost like they don't all have the same play. Again, these guys have over 200 starts among the guys playing. It's gross. All of these guys that are like key players coming back, helping each other in practice, even if they're not a starter, that is valuable to help each other get better each and every day. Norvell talks about that, and rightfully so. So if he knows it, you've got experienced players who obviously played better last year by a mile, and all of a sudden they've not just regressed to the mean, they've regressed to just absolute bottom of the barrel. At what point does Norvell literally and publicly go on the hot seat? I'd love to hear people comment about that. After this is over, I'm going to download this chat and put it right on the main page of YouTube, and it'll be on Apple and Spotify and Castbox and Amazon and all the others. You want to come back and listen to it. and make sure you download that stuff anyway. It's easier on the go than it is YouTube. But look, at some point, Mike Norvell's got to be responsible, man. As much you get, and I gave him a ton of credit last year and this offseason for how they mixed and matched. They had with recruiting, the portal, a few JUCO kids, whatever. They've done a nice job. But this year, they've just went off the cliff. It is so bad offensively. I had people texting me and stuff I can't even really post because it's so bad. Some of it's borderline mean, but it's not inaccurate. That's the part where I didn't even argue with anybody. Most of it's pretty tame, just kind of pointing fingers at the offense and stuff. But some of it's like, basically calling them non-college players, basically, how bad the offense was. I'll leave it at that. I couldn't say much, like, especially that first quarter. Holy moly. One person sent me a text that said, this is unwatchable. While direct and not like super derogatory, it was pretty accurate. Does anybody disagree? Like that first quarter for us, good Lord. That is, oof. Defense did a little better from senior comrade 123. I think the defense played a lot better. I do. It's really, really tough though when you're out there all the time. I mean, they 36 minutes, I believe it was, and change for Memphis. Defense held on, but they were on the field a lot. They were gassed. Get ready for Mike to ramble his way through another press conference. Antonio, you are 100% correct. I am also, we are better than this. Messiah says Marvin Jones is super or something I can't repeat. I'll just say bad. But yeah, there's some people pretty mad now at the players. It's getting bad. Imagine spending your time covering this team. I do, and it's not fun. I see you right there. Oh, buddy, it's tough. Wild Bill, he's just got a crying emoji. I think that's another one that's up there for top post of the day. Why did they go for 2 and kill the momentum after the touchdown? Zero math. I looked at that, and when it happened, I'm like, there's something I don't know, so I'm going to hold off. And I still haven't talked to anybody, but mathematically, just the way I look at it, I didn't understand either. So I'm not going to say that I know. There's some kind of analytics out there for it, but I didn't see it. I don't know what they were trying to get to. FSU down bad. That is from Wild Bill. Bad? Bill, let me tell you what bad is. Bad is starting 2-1 with a loss to BC. Florida State is 0-3, and it's the first 0-3 start since. You ready for this? Mike Norvell's 2021 season. Oh. The only other time that Florida State in the last 50 years has started over 3. Bobby Bowden's first season. Bobby Bowden's. That's in the mid-70s. 75, I think? Good night. Rugrat K3. My high school can beat this waste of a team. Eric. Ufrus, FSU might win 2 or 3 games max this season. Oh boy. Jew Shiesty. Oh, this is hilarious. FSU versus IMG Academy. Oh boy. That's a little rough. That's a little rough right there. My high school team could beat this team. That is from Senior Comrade 123. Oh, boy. Oh, there's so many bad posts here, but there's so many good ones too. Skip over a few that I can't say and whatnot on the air. But so real question, FSU is still once out of the ACC? Yes. I mean, that doesn't change, but like, the legal aspects of that have nothing to do with what goes on the field. DJ. Yeah, he's not very good. He is not very good. DJ, enjoying that NIL money? Norvell is allergic to pushing the ball down the field. I don't think he trusts the offensive line. That's from King Nugie. I get it, but yeah, it's bad. You don't need to do anything. Can you coach any better? Can anybody coach any worse? The Florida State offense, I'm talking about. Defense, they did that again. If the defense would have got any help today, they'd have beat Memphis. They would have. Special teams had a pretty good day, minus the one goofy play. It's costly, but again, overall, the offense was a disaster, and it's not even close. Oh, yeah, get out of here with that. Let's see. Richard Brookins, yes, Florida State still wants out of the ACC, I do believe. Yeah, but right now they'll be lucky to get any traction with any league. There is absolutely no FSU fans in here. They have lost them all. That's not true. Guy Davis, from a fumble in the first quarter, this game was awful. I mean, 3 first half turnovers, man. That's pretty brutal. 1 special teams. It's bad. I said this in one of my tweets, but Mike Norvell is going to have to make multiple firings this offseason. If not, I'll hammer him the entire offseason. It will be on repeat. You fail by not firing staff. I'm not going to get into specifics now. Going to give him a chance to clear that opportunity in December. Multiple firings this offseason for his staff. There's no doubt about that. Bobby Jones. I have no idea what you mean by this because it's everybody's job to try to figure this out because obviously Florida State staff hasn't figured it out. Bobby says, do your comments. Don't try to figure it out. Not your job. I'm a commentator that is commentating on the podcast that I run. So what is 100% my job? You don't like it? Hit the road. Jimmy Jam. Recruiting is going to suffer big time. 100%. No doubt. They're going to have other decommit. I can see that a mile away. FSU versus Miami might get real ugly. That is from Grace Point. You think? Might get ugly? Will Florida State come within 20? Will Florida State be in the game at halftime? Right now, Florida State isn't much more than just horrendous. How could you look at it any other way? They just lost to Memphis at home. Solid team, but they lost to Memphis at home. Down the road, if Florida State's as bad as I think when they play in October in Miami Gardens, inside Hard Rock Stadium, that game could be over by the middle of the second quarter. It could be 28-3 going into halftime, something like that. Batista, it's great to be a Miami Hurricane. Well, right now, I'm sure that any Miami fan will have fun with that. The ACC may let FSU out of their contract out of this. Wild Bill. All right, man. That's good post. Not gonna lie. That's pretty good post. Not gonna lie, bro. That's solid right there. Blake Nagy. Miami sucks. Y'all been bums for 20 years. Stat, that is still true. Both Florida State and Miami have been up and down over the last 20 years, but the Noles have a title. Miami doesn't. And Miami only has 1 10-win season in it, which is mind-boggling. How Miami has screwed that up is absolutely hard to fathom. You bench DJ and try to spark the team, or does NIL come into play? How could you not bench him? I mean, at this point, I don't think the NIL matters because it's money that's under the bridge. He sucks. I would play somebody else, and I would start even if he's not completely ready. They have to figure that out in practice. Somebody out of the 2 freshmen, one's a redshirt freshman, one's a true freshman, has to play. They got to split time. If not, I will destroy Norvell and his staff if they don't do that next week. Destroy them. That's just the way it is. Antonio Riley, 20 years. That is a long time, brother. That is a long time. Sheisty's laugh out loud. 80% of the viewers are trolls. Yeah, that is true. Dion Bowser, doo-doo DJ. That is hilarious. Joe Swain, why not give the NIL money after the season? Because if you did that, you wouldn't get the players. It's not how it works, bro. Every payment plan is different, but a lot of the schools offer upfront money. If you don't as well, you don't get to keep players. Players are 100% in control. Nagy, Miami equals 0 ACC titles. Sit down, chumps. Yeah, it's amazing. Miami literally doesn't have an ACC title. That's hard to believe, but it's true. Oh, let's see here. Should have let Mike walk to Alabama. It's kind of hard to argue with that. This isn't true, but it's not far from it. Eric Waprus. Worst offensive line ever. I don't know if it's ever, but it's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. It's I don't even know how to define how do you have guys with over 200 collective starts? And let me see what the stat was today for the rush, just rushing. I mean, it's like it's crazy what it was. Even the rush adjusted, if I remember right, rush adjusted rate, I think was 3.5 yards per carry. It's crazy. Yeah, not very good. 3.5 yards a carry, I believe. So yeah, that's what it is. Look, Florida State is not in a position to talk about anything on their offense. They had a couple of big plays. Topio had the nice run around left in. They had the bomb to Benson. They had a couple other decent plays, but like the consistency, like 3 out of 10 plays, it's going the wrong direction. Like it's just incredible how backwards this offense is. And a lot of the stuff that's going backwards is generic football, not just football that's okay here or there, but like, with a little bit of sizzle. Florida State's running some pretty generic running plays that they've run a gazillion times in practice over multiple years. And guys getting blown up in the backfield. The ESPN commentator even said guys are being let free. And I'm just like, oh. Hearing it out loud, I guess, was just kind of hard to accept. So let's see. Rugrat. FSU looks like they're not even trying anymore. They just gave up. I disagree with that, especially the defense. That is not true. Let's see. Dim Truby. They need to start playing other players, blah, blah, blah. DJ U is just not the answer. They did some good things with him today, like schematically. He still screwed him up in the first half. Now, second half, he played much better, but like he can't finish it off. He's not clutch. And even if he is your best option for this season, the season's pretty much over. So I don't agree on the timeline with what you're saying. But now, not last week, I think you have to at least play some of the other guys. I don't think they'll just turn it over to a redshirt freshman because they won't want his head to get beat in mentally and physically. They're probably not good at setting protections and reading defenses. That's typical. And the offensive line is garbage, even if they do. Putting a freshman quarterback back there for the entire game, I'm a little leery of that, but we'll see. Ron Loney, only 12 points against Memphis. Yeah, that's the total. I mean, this offense was like what it's usually like at Syracuse. Syracuse is having a solid season so far this year. They'll probably revert to the mean, but like most years, Syracuse stinks. So that's what this Florida State team's like. Syracuse has a couple good plays and shoots itself in the foot. That's kind of Syracuse football. That's what Florida State's doing. They'll have a couple nice plays and they have a negative. Or they have a guy that just gets busted in the backfield because an offensive line turns somebody loose and there's a double team on a linebacker or something. Just terrible. So it's crazy. Did DJ hurt his draft stock today for Olympic flag football? Continue your guest. Continue. Good work, Brian. Thank you. I appreciate that one, Emmanuel. I mean, it's DJ's obviously his career is over as far as football. Let's see. Jesus, offensive line is garbage. Tackles are really bad. Yeah, it's true. Has anybody regressed more than Darius? Like, I thought he was going to be a draft pick. He ain't getting drafted. He's not going to make a team. Charleston Southern and Duke, maybe. That's from Eric LaFruce. Yeah, here's something. Name the total of games that Florida State wins this year. Do they win 3 games? Legit question. Does Florida State win 3 games this season? If you think they win more, name the total. If you think they win less, that's fine. Please provide that data. In my opinion, 3 wins is at best iffy. Who are they beating? They haven't hit 300 yards of total offense in any one of their first 3 games. Let that sink in. They didn't hit 250 today against a non-Power 5 opponent. On that note, I'm going to go take a small break here, and we'll get back to the comments in a moment. But that last one kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It's pretty rough. So we'll get back into the chat here in just a second. But it's rough, to say the least, if you're a Florida State fan, because there's no reason at all for any of these teams to be beating up on Florida State like this. This is crazy. That's too many self-inflicted wounds. So right after the break, we'll get back into the chat. When you're hiring for your small business, you need to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LinkedIn. Locked On College, that's linkedin.com/Locked On College to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. I've lost my place here in the chat, but my apologies if I miss anything of urgency. This is not real surprising. From SP1 Worrell, Florida looking bad right now. Not surprising. They're not very good. This is funny. Jaywalking. Offensive line sucks. DJU sucks. Linebackers suck. Corners and safeties can read a play to save their lives. Can't read a play is what he meant to say. Drop passes. D-line played well. Ends played well. Yeah, it's weird. The defensive line did look better today. Like from the get-go. It's amazing just like how much transformation there was in 1 week. I did not expect that, but hey, they were on the field for the vast majority of the game. It was a 2-1 advantage for Memphis in time of possession. Pretty much. I mean, like not close. It's just crazy. Like they got so much more time. It's like 60%, whatever. That is enormous. You can't be in that spot. You're going to get tired as a defense. And Memphis wasn't even hitting on all cylinders in the second half, but still got a few first downs and scored. And that was enough to win. So that's Mitchell Parks. This is just funny. Time to sue Memphis. I don't know about all that. But, here's a funny one. Juan Manuel. He says, Urban Meyer to Florida State, ? Right now, I don't think Urban would want the job. Why would he? All these veterans from Vashon who've been here for years and we can't beat Memphis or Boston College. Look, bro, I get that, man. Like, if y'all want to complain about specifics, that's cool too. But like the overwhelming theme with that is really weird. It's just proven for decades that guys that are a little more mature have shown that they can win. And a lot of these guys are starters on a team that was undefeated. Remember that. You'll find a way to be pretty good. Like 8-4 would have been a bad season this year. They are not sniffing 8-4. So it's crazy. Breaking news. FSU files suit to add third L to Mike Norvell's name. Well, I don't think they got to file the suit. He just got it. Nice try for a funny one. That wasn't very good. NK, Mike is the only coach to be ranked top 10 preseason to start 0-3. That is not the stat you want to be a part of, brother. Florida State stinks. They stink really bad. This is crazy. This is something I knew somebody was going to bring this up, and it's true. Lionel Manza. Norvell was lucky to have Travis, and his recruiting, it's really bad. Florida State sues ACC because they're better. They need $15 million more and annual to spend it. NIL is a bunch of losers. Well, I don't know what the deal is with the NIL, but they didn't spend it on the right guys. That's pretty clear. Samuel Hoagland. Florida State versus Florida in the toilet bowl. Anybody disagreeing with that? No. That game will be the least important FSU Florida game in my lifetime. Norvell is enjoying his salary more than DJ enjoys NIL. Well, Norvell making some dollars. He's making a bunch of dollars. Somebody can look up his contract. It's like $8 million or something. It's pretty high. This is not completely true, but Eric D says, don't blame DJ. It's your coach. How about I blame both? I'm for it. I'm here for it. DJ is not good. Norvell is not good. The coaching staff in general was wrong to bring him in. DJ is who he is. They run a pro style scheme. Oh, wait, they don't. They run a mobile quarterback scheme. So let's bring in the pro guy. Made no sense from the get-go. Oh, man. DJ U has a case against Norvell for ruining his draft stock. That's from Midtown. DJ U was never getting drafted based on his last season, but now they won't even let him near the NFL Combine. And Indianapolis might have some kind of restraining order against DJ attending the Combine. Florida State Commanders. Obviously, this is a Washington fan. At least we got our O-line coach back next week. That's from Jaywalking. I mean, you would assume that would help, but like right now, I don't know. Let's see. This is bad. This is funny, but this is bad. Mitchell Parks, Warren Hester, Vandy would smoke them. Yeah, boy, that's bad, man. Ain't this the same coaching staff from last season as from Eric D? Pretty much. But they hit on all the portal. Like last year's portal guys to this year, the success rate is the most lopsided result that I've ever seen. Never seen anything like it. Florida State hit on so many guys. Plus, they had a couple that came back. Like, let's think about it now. If Jared Verse doesn't come back for the 23 season, he could have left. Does Florida State sniff undefeated? I don't know. They might lose at least one, probably two, is my guess. He changed games. They had a few fortuitous bounces, and he was from Albany to begin with. Everybody wanted him because he had a lot of upside, but nobody knew he was going to be that good. He was what, the 19th pick in the draft? I mean, he's dude. It's crazy. This is a great stat. I hadn't got to this yet. Looking at the stats, I knew it was bad. From T. Sully, Florida State rushing offense was number 127 after 2 games, correct? Today, 37 rushing yards. Ooh. NK, entire staff got comfortable after 13-0 season instead of trying to improve. Do not disagree with that. That's a really good post. Really good post. Oh, man. Midtown says $10 million a year for Norvell. That's crazy. Eric D. Florida State is 0-3. It's Norvell's fault. Don't blame the coaching staff. Everybody's fallible in life in general. And if you don't think these coaches are doing a poor job on offense, you can say what you want about the defense. They played better today, but the offense, all of those guys got to be under 5. This is 3 games in a row. You didn't get 300 yards. Today, you didn't make 250. Pathetic. Pathetic. Horrendous. There's no excuse. Florida State's assistants definitely deserve to be on the hot seat. Jaywalking wants to talk a little trash here. I don't blame him based on Florida State's performances so far. 57-10 Canes, calling it now, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't see that. Let's see. This is funny. Fisher broke Florida State. He might have. Hollywood. Florida State is a clown show. It is bad. NK, that's the thing. This is the soft part of the schedule, and they haven't won yet. That is a good point. Actually, they have been dominated. What happens when they play some good teams? They get annihilated? Like, they're competitive in all the games. They can't finish because they can't score. That's a good point. They may not. Let's see. This is an interesting. Mike Lowry. Cam could have got them past Memphis. That's probably true. If you switch out Cam Ward for DJ Uiagalelei, Florida State's won at least one, if not two games. Maybe they're 3-0. I mean, quarterback is that important. So it's pretty crazy. To be clear, DJ looked good at Oregon State. This is on Norvell, not DJ. He was pretty good there, and they got a good quarterback coach out there, but he fits the scheme. Now, let me be clear. It's not just Norvell's decision to bring this guy in. This is where I differ with you, Eric. The staff has to want him too, because if every guy on the staff says, no, we shouldn't take him, and the head coach still wants to, you need to lead that staff. You can't force your entire staff to want a guy. Doesn't work. That's not how it works. Florida State's got problems. Brett Steinbrook, is there a way to turn it around this year? I mean, with the way the quarterback plays, I don't see it. I name a position on offense that's even mediocre. There isn't one. They're all below average. Every single position, running back, tight end, receiver, offensive line, and quarterback. They're all below average. Let's see, Midtown. They're recruiting guys that are good enough to play. That's true, but we'll see. Hunt 2022. Fire Mike. He can't recruit 5 stars. He's struggled at bare minimum. I am a fan and we stink. That's from Moneyline Mills. That's true. Let's see. This is funny. Mitchell Parks. FSU is suing DJ for fraud. Oof, that's very harsh. But he is fraudulent in some of the ways he's been playing. Can't argue that, man. Let's see. The whole team is gross, and that includes the coaching staff. That's from Doc Sports Podcast. At least the defense showed some heart today. I'd question that. Good for them, but it's still not enough. It is pretty bad. Let's go, Cal Bears from Dave Williams. Whatever. Midtown says Gators are going to beat Florida State by 2 scores. I don't know if that's true or not. It'd be pretty sad. Gary, you're right on this one. Gary Corbett says Florida State receivers aren't blocking downfield. I'll add to that. Florida State receivers aren't blocking much at all at the line of scrimmage, on screens, helping in the running backs. They're pretty average at best. It's the receiver corps is bad. Recruit corps is bad. They drop balls. They don't get a lot of separation. There hasn't been much run after the catch when they do catch the ball. Like, they have been really disappointing. I know there wasn't a ton of expectation by a lot of people, but good night. This is gross. Let's see here. Chad Kinsler. I know the boosters and alumni are livid. Yeah, Chad? Do you blame them? If you thought the fun for NIL was bad, now I'll see what it comes up to. Chad has another good post here. Norvell needs to announce a quarterback change on Monday and get rid of a coach or two. I don't know if I go quarterback change, because at least got to open the competition. And regardless of who starts next week, there has to be multiple quarterbacks at minimum. Wild Bill off the plug. 3 wins. I see at most 2 Charleston and maybe Duke. Fun fact. Memphis offense is averaged. Well-coached California will be the same kind of game. I've seen Cal live. They will give Florida State a lot of problems. Their defense is pretty physical, and their quarterback is uber accurate. He's very, very similar to what we saw in Seth Hennigan, but they have more talent than Memphis, 100%. This is sad. Chad Kinsworth says, Willie Taggart is somewhere laughing. Oh, boy. Let's see. Still not time to start the young guys. Depends on the position. And this is from Surfer RC. I don't know when that time is. I really don't. It's kind of hard to say because every position is different. Quarterback is what everybody wants to hear, but I'm telling you, starting freshman quarterbacks can go really sideways. So, I mean, that's why I think Florida State's in danger of not winning 3 games. Like, legitimately. They can lose any game they play in because it's been proven the offense is as bad as any major Power 4 college football team. They have literally not made 300 yards of offense in a game yet. Like, that's almost impossible to do. Oh, it's just... This might be an interesting question to delve into for a second. Anybody who wants to answer this, comment on it on YouTube, after the show, whatever, feel free. Has Norvell lost this team mentally? Because El Rico 88 brings this up. I don't know. After the 3rd loss, it's hard to say, but they played hard. They can't, on offense, they just can't execute. Defense certainly played hard. Had some bad moments. Got a lot of crossed up stuff in the secondary. That's something that Memphis figured out and FSU staff didn't. Younger players starting back there, they got them good. I don't know without going through the film and seeing all 22 film verticals, so I'm not going to get into it, but Memphis won the coaching battle today pretty easily. Let's see. El Rico. Norvell cannot coach or develop. It's weird. He coached last year. They sure as heck couldn't this year. Great question. From Troy Ortiz. Is it more about the coaching or the players? I don't know. Because I think both are in trouble. I think this staff is limited on what they can coach in terms of style. They thought otherwise and got proven wrong. And they don't have the elite guys either. I think it's not one or the other. It's both. This staff is not very multiple. That's one of their biggest problems. Let's just call it problem. So, this is great. This is great. CeeLo 79. Whoever bet Florida State under 9.5, you're a winner. This is a good one going into next week from Michael Smith. A lot of garbage talked about the Cal this past summer. I'm pretty sure Cal players remember all the vile. DJ U beat them last year when he had an offensive line and lots of time to throw. Well, he ain't going to have it this year. Oregon State had a great O-line last year. The DJ played behind. It's not the case now. Let's see. El Rico, both. Coach sets the tone. He recruited this guy. So in other words, it's on players and coaches. No top recruits are going to come here. Chad Kinsler. You are correct, Chad. Why would anybody? I appreciate this. From Enigna Kane, 2726. Best thing going for Trailer Hassey is Brian Smith doing the Locked On channel. Obviously, you hate Florida State, but I appreciate the shout out. That's nice. Silos asks, Brian, what's up with recruiting news? Let me tell you the recruiting news. Florida State is in deep, deep trouble. They just lost 2 commitments, and after this, why would you expect anything good? It's crazy. This is a very important point. Locked on Syracuse. Norvell is making $9.875 million this season. His contract doesn't expire until 2031. Let me break that down for you on what my guy Jackson Holzer is trying to say. Florida State doesn't have a ton of money. He's sticking around. They're not firing. Outside of 0-12 or 1-11 or something, then I guess you just take an interim and just kind of figure it out over time. But outside of something like that, he's not going to be the guy. But right now, Norvell, that'll be my podcast on Sunday, by the way. So I'll do a little brief thought about it. I'll probably do another live stream Sunday night. But we got to talk about Norvell and his situation as it relates to one really specific thing. Should he be the coach after next year? Not 24, but after 25. If they go 7-5 or something next year, do you dump him? I'm going to talk about that tomorrow on the base show, and then in the evening I'll probably do another live show around 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that Eastern time, because this is brutal, absolutely unequivocally brutal. So a couple more, then I'll wrap it up here. From Jake, well, Memphis Mike put egg on my face. I went on record on a Kane podcast last night and predicted 23-21 Noles win. And I'm a Canes fan. What a blank in trailer Hassett. It's gross, man. Like, Florida State's terrible. I blame the entire program, coaches and players. Only Fitz is without blame. I mean, Fitz killed it. Mastermano is really good too. That's from NK. The kicking game, Florida State is as good as any team in the country. It's bizarre. Terry Belk. Norvell is not tough enough to coach with the big boys. Kind of hard to really go against. There's so many posts that I'm not going to get to. There are hundreds. It's insane how many are still on here. But what's the impact on recruiting today? That's from Silos. Let me be honest. It's horrific is what it is. Today will kill Florida State recruiting. If you're a coach recruiting against the Noles for any guy that's either committed to them or you're in a tight race, leg out, brother. Why would you go play for a team that can't win a game at home against Memphis? Why would you play for a team that's starting 0-3? Why would you play for a team that has a coaching staff under fire? All these things are going to get said to recruits over and over and over and over and over again. It's kind of hard to argue with, man. D'Angelo asks you, Memphis offense isn't average. FSU will beat Cal, and their talent is basic as hell. Don't let the hype fool you. I've seen Cal live. I was at the Cal-Auburn game last weekend. Their offense doesn't have a lot of guys that make a ton of plays down the field, but they're consistent, and their quarterback is really accurate, to the tune of the following statistic. You ready for this? This is a kid from Miami that didn't get an FSU offer, by the way. He started the game 20 of 22. 20 of 22. To say that that is accurate, that's 91%, is an understatement. This is a good question, and I'm glad you asked this. This is from Mitchell Parks. He's referring to the freshman quarterbacks for Florida State. One is a redshirt freshman. One is a true freshman. Here's the deal. He says, how could starting a freshman go any more sideways than it is now? Legitimate question. This is why. Obviously, this season is a disaster. We can all establish that. But here's the more important and second point. If it goes even further down the toilet because of them, you lose players, etc. And often because so much of quarterback is above the neck, you can run a player before he's developed. At least that's what a lot of coaches believe. I've had guys tell me that. Okay, fine. Every person is different. I don't know Brock Glenn personally. I've met him. I've been around him. I've seen him at Elite 11, but I don't know him. Luke Kromenhoek's a really tough kid, went to a military school in Savannah, Georgia, Benedictine. I don't think that would be him, but he's nowhere near ready, and he would be awful probably because most freshman quarterbacks are just that. Awful. The difference in speed, learning the offense, the timing and the rhythm, having hardly any reps with the first team, the O-line included, is a problem. You're going into the meat of your schedule. You've got Cal coming up. They run a complex defense. You got Clemson coming up. You got Miami coming up. Playing freshmen against those teams is rough. I think DJ will be a part of the offense, but at the same time, I still, again, just to be clear, Florida State should 100% play one of the younger quarterbacks next week. If they don't, I will have a tantrum episode that's about 3 or 4 minutes long, and rightfully so, because you have to admit there has to be at least some kind of change. I'm not a practice. I'm not one of the coaches, but it is obvious DJU does not work under this staff with this offensive line. There's no chemistry, none. So that's what I'm going with there. This is a question that's kind of interesting. CeeLo79, is Norvell overrated with his offensive prowess? There's 2 parts to that. Number one, when he has a veteran that can move around in the pocket, he's pretty good. But he has no proof of anything else. He's a one-trick pony until otherwise proven. And I said it, one-trick pony. Has to be experienced, mobile quarterback with pretty good arm. Jordan could sling it. But most guys can do that. So right now, I would lean overrated. They got him there. I mean, he was terrible early in his career. That's no doubt. They stuck with him. But still, that's the only guy at the major level that he's developed. That's rough. Oh. What is the culture? This is what C-Los asks about Florida State. I don't know. It's a losing one right now because it's 0-3. I'm curious if they lose some guys in a sense too, because like this is crazy. This might be a true statement here. Peanut, Miami about to pick y'all's recruiting class apart. I would not be surprised. Do one more now. Let's see, I got a million posts. This is hilarious. Mike, Willie Taggart 2.0 Norvell. That's from an SC Gamecock. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody coming in today. It's been a wild start to the 2024 season. Florida State is on the wrong end again today, 20-12. They played very, very, very poorly. And to be honest with you, I don't know when their next win is going to be there. Again, just to note, 2 pods tomorrow. One, I'm going to do something on Norvell. What is the timeline, the contract, all that stuff. And 2, we'll do another live chat based on that, some other data I get. I'll do another live stream tomorrow. I want to see what other media members say, put that in there. Won't necessarily be as long as this one. This one's almost an hour and 15 minutes, but we're going to do that. I'm going to break this podcast up and put it up as 2 parts, part 1 and 2 to the chat if you want to go back in. And again, you can get it in Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your pods on the go. Make sure you check it out. But thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles football with me. Everybody have a good one and enjoy some better football somewhere else tonight.